to serve the question of like what went wrong with this show. I mean, we didn't work on the show. We weren't in the writers' room.
No.
We weren't in the meetings. How does that happen?
I think that's the problem. It's like they were hamstrung by like notes they're probably getting from the executive team, but also probably changes in leadership in the writers' room too. Probably they had like a new director for season 3.
Whatever the cause, the show didn't know what it wanted to be.
Welcome back to the break room. Space, time, reality. The holidays are over and it's 2025, but we couldn't kick off the new year without talking about some stuff from the old year. Namely, What If Season 3? Did this latest season of Multiversal Possibilities stick the landing? And was this a satisfying conclusion to the Watcher's story? And dare we ask the question, what went wrong? I don't know. We'll get into all that and more. I'm Brandon Barrick. Joining me today, what if instead of spending his life doing deep dives on films and series, he got really into cryptocurrencies? It's Erik Voss.
It'd probably be an episode with like a really, really powerful Peggy Carter anyway.
Oh, okay.
It's just where everything's headed.
I like it. Also, what if instead of being the offspring of human parents, he was the result of 2 Furbies becoming sentient and creating life? It's Zach Huddleston.
Somebody see me without my pants on?
Dang, Furby. Now that's a Furby. Hey,
Don't feed it after midnight.
We had 8 final episodes in this last season of What If. Here's a quick reminder of what those episodes were. We can pull up the graphic. There you go. We had Hulk fighting the Mech Avengers. What if Agatha went to Hollywood? The Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier. Howard the Duck got hitched, and that's not all we got. What if the Emergence destroyed the Earth? The Great Question, what if 1872?
Seriously though, what if?
What if the Watcher disappeared? And what if? 8 episodes. It's all done, we think. Though series director Brian Andrews for this last season, he did kind of tease like maybe this isn't the end. You know, they can always come back to it, but it does seem like they're done for now.
Though I guess you can make a strong argument later this year we're getting Marvel Zombies.
Which
is a spin-off of an episode from season 1. So that's kind of this something about this is continuing.
That'll be a 4-episode miniseries, but this is it for the time being, right? What do we think of the season overall? What do we think of the series overall? Did you have a favorite moment before maybe we get into what we didn't like as much about the series?
I thought this series overall was a very promising door-opening experiment to just explore a lot of fun fan fiction that we've all been dreaming about in the MCU. Where one path could have gone, we get to go actually see. And I really like that. I just think this whole series as a whole is really buoyed by its first season. I think it was a pretty steep drop-off after season 1. Season 2 hung in there, but we didn't really see the impact of the misguided direction, I think, after season 1 until season 3. In season 3, the bottom dropped out, in my opinion. It had some great moments, and to honor your question, Brandon, I kind of liked some of the... I liked the premise of what if Agatha went to Hollywood, but the execution of it, of the musical numbers, couldn't get into it. I kind of liked the what we were just talking about. The Riri Williams episode.
Yes.
I like the premise of it. I love the Mysterio of it all. I love the art design of it. I just liked the direction that story went. I thought it kind of had a non-ending with the Watcher intervening though, and I never really understood why the Watcher intervened for Riri. And maybe it's because like the MCU has only had Riri in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. We haven't seen her in Ironheart yet. And I think this season did suffer from Ironheart not being there. I think it was written and animated as if it would be coming out well after Ironheart.
I would agree with that, especially
case.
with the reference to the hood in the 1872 episode.
Yeah. So I've talked long enough. What did you guys think?
I aggressively disliked this season.
Okay.
I think a couple things. Watching this concurrently with Creature Commandos, which, again, is not everybody's flavor as well, but, like, is a coherently, consistently told story with a voice and a narrative that, like, you can wrap your brain around. This is the opposite. It is completely inconsistent, right? Like, and that's been a growing theme over the seasons of the show. A third of every season is devoted to like the meta narrative of Uatu and Peggy Carter and these kind of like super meta concepts of crossing over galaxies and all this kind of stuff. A third is actual what I consider to be like real what if storytelling. Like, what if the Red Guardian stopped Bucky from killing the Starks, right? Like, that's like an actual question that when you hear it, you're like, oh, what would have happened if that was the case? And then a third of them are absolutely throwaway episodes that like literally nobody's ever asked for or wondered about, right? On top of that, so that's already disjointed. And as you're watching it, right, like you don't even know, like, wait, what's building on what, and like what are they referencing,
and what like is even canon for the show necessarily.
Yes.
Like, what's gonna stick through is this Guardians of the Multiverse story, and what's not. What's just like kind of like left behind, and like that whole Riri Williams episode, it felt like it was designed to fit the narrative of Uatu, right? Just to give him a reason to intervene to get him in trouble. Because it kind of just leaves it all there.
Yes.
And like that one was a good episode, but it was kind of like short and truncated. And I like that it had stakes and like characters are dying that we know, and that has a little bit of impact. But it all has to be told so quickly. And then other episodes, it felt like it was just taking forever to get through it. Like I really was very excited about the premise of the mech episode, the what if Hulk fought the mech Avengers. But there's barely any mech Avenger in it, right? It's mostly
also the mechs don't fight Hulk.
No, they don't.
The title is a lie.
They fight the
kaiju of the things that.
But the Hulk also exists in this world,
but it's
and
kind
he's
of
not fighting the.
It's like the Hulk's phlegm, basically, that's fighting. In a way, technically, it is.
The substance version of the Hulk.
Yeah. Oh, better
if
example.
You watched that Demi Moore movie, yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right, Eric. That the first season was. We all really liked it. It kind of was a mix of both. And we were surprised because the show was pitched as like an anthology show. And then they kind of surprised us with this interconnected story in the first season. That was fun. But yeah, I don't think any episodes have like lived up to the height of like the Strange Supreme episode.
Yes.
In the first season.
Well, also,
or even that, I really liked, the one with like, what if T'Challa became, Star-Lord? Mm-hmm. And like it's our last performance of Chadwick Boseman, and it kind of tells a fun story, and it's a little twist, and it's enough of a narrative on its own. But some of these others just
Well, and I think like the two episodes you cited, also the Bucky Red Guardian episode, right? Like a couple of ones that I come to mind for me that I enjoyed the most. There is at least like a single premise that then sets off the events of the episode, right? What if the Ravagers came and got T'Challa, right? Like, great. And then whatever happens after that, it's based on this one change from the world we know. What if Shang-Chi and Kate Bishop existed in 1872? Like, but it's not even that. It's not like, oh, we'll redo the events of the Shang-Chi movie, but now it's 1870. No, completely unrelated. Wait, why is the Hood and Sonny Birch and like one change to the MCU is not leading to a bunch of stuff. It's just they just pick 8 random changes to make to characters that we think we know, right? And they're like, yeah, that's kind of a story, huh?
Yeah, at least with the 1602 episode, it started that way, but we found out why. We found out it was Steve Rogers accidentally splitting the time stone and causing this ruptured timeline that displaced them to the Elizabethan age. So that was justified. And I actually kind of liked that episode ultimately from season 2. But you're right, Zach. I think that there was a greater narrative burden that the writers and animators took on themselves in the earlier seasons, where they really tried to stay true to that original premise of the What If comics, where it was a pretty simple concept, right? Like, just take one thing, like what if, someone else got bitten by the spider? What if whatever incident was the inciting incident in the hero's life happened to someone else? What if instead of having instead of having Reed Richards as your roommate, as Doctor Doom, you have Tony Stark as your roommate. And that led to a pretty interesting What If comic series or comic episode. So it's just like they started that way. Whereas what if Peggy Carter got the serum instead of Steve? And we got to explore that. What if Strange, what if Christine Palmer died in the car accident? They really stayed true to that. And then they extrapolated and then earned this skewed timeline. They stopped holding themselves to that immediately in season 2 with the What If Nebula Star-Lord episode, right? Like, they had, really, it was like, what if a shield, the Nova Corps built a shield around Xandar, and we got to, and Xandar was this kind of closed off, Blade Runner-y universe fairly interesting, but it just seems like you just want to do a Blade Runner episode. Like, yeah, they just wanted to do a Blade Runner. They just wanted to do a Die Hard. They just wanted to do like an Elizabethan age. They just wanted to do an old Hollywood musical. They wanted they wanted to do a Gundam thing, and they didn't force themselves to go through those steps. And in my opinion, that was the most interesting part of the episode, just to show how little incidental butterfly effect moments can completely change your life and your destiny. And instead, it was just like, it felt like we dived right into the deep end of these episodes, and we had no idea how we got there, and the writers didn't care to explain. And while I think people were going to say we're being very hard on What If, the first season did go through those steps. It was the same team. And when you go from season 1 to season 2, you only have more resources to carry out your vision. It shouldn't get lazier. It should be more ambitious from season 1 to season 2. They had all the time in the world. They have fuck you money from Disney to get this done. They have success from season 1, episode by episode. So I think we're right to be hard on Marvel for shitting the bed here.
Also, I mean, is this the only Marvel show we might ever see that gets 3 seasons? Maybe X-Men 97. I know they're currently at work on the 3rd season of X-Men 97. They've already put in the work on the 2nd season, and there's already a writer's room for the 3rd season. But it's wild that, you know, a studio that, often takes its time, or it takes it a while to get stuff out, they've pushed out 3 seasons in 4 years of this show. Right? And now maybe the Growing Pains show there in the work, in that you can make a very solid argument, each season has been worse than the last.
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe that is the speed at which they need to do it. A lot of this too, especially the first season kind of coincided with Marvel learning how to do Disney Plus TV.
Well,
right?
This is their first animated show too. Yeah. They've had a lot of growing pains with having each season they've had to cut an episode because it wasn't finished in time. It's taken longer. It seems like they've maybe learned some lessons. I mean, we all really much enjoyed X-Men 97. That looked great. It had some great writing, some great voice acting. It was impactful. I'm really excited about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That looks different and fun. What I saw from Eyes of Wakanda looks very interesting. But, Eyes of Wakanda's 4 episodes. Marvel Zombies will be 4 episodes.
And I think, didn't you watch some of these episodes and you're like, I wish they had more time to just flesh out this single idea and play with it, or even make me care about these characters, right? You'd be so thrown in, and the characters are kind of the ones but also so much about them is different, that I'm wait, what should I be connecting to here? I think last week John and I talked a little bit about Creature Commandos needing to be canon. And the Batman that showed up in the last episode is the DCU Batman.
We think,
right? According to James Gunn, right? He's done interviews where he's that's why he's only in shadow and silhouette, because I didn't want to commit to anything, because that's our Batman, right? What If has a similar problem, but without even the benefits of that? Of no, that's Simu Liu, that as the voice of Shang-Chi, and it kind of looks like him, though we could have a whole other rant about how these characters look. Right? And so they need some fealty. And of course, that's why you care about any of these characters, because you presumably care about their live action film versions, right? But you also, it doesn't make sense why they're in this, right? And that the version of Simu Liu's Shang-Chi in 1872 will have no impact on any other appearance of Shang-Chi we ever see.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it is a baffling mistake from Marvel Studios to insist that the character designs on What If look like their live action counterparts, especially for a multiverse-based show where anything can look like anything in animation. Here's your time to go crazy and let things look as unusual or weird. And I know that takes a lot of effort and budget and inspiration to do, and that might mean it would be 3 years between seasons. I get that. But start from the beginning. I don't want to give too much credit to X-Men 97. I really want to give credit to the Lewalds' X-Men 90s animated run for really setting the standard here. We cared more about Kelsey Grammer's Beast when he looked like the Beast from the X-Men 90s animated show, when he showed up in the Marvel's post-credit scene. Animation is really the key to all this when you are true to the possibilities of animation. Do not handcuff animation to have to look like real life. This is your opportunity to be as crazy as you want. And throughout, and this is a flaw with season 1, but it only really became apparent, I think, in season 2, is that every character looks vague. And unless they are suited up in their iconic uniform or have an iconic facial hair pattern or headgear.
Even then, half the time when we see Bucky, he doesn't have the long hair. He has short hair, and you're like, who's that?
Who is that? And these actors, as much as I love Sebastian Stan, and congrats, buddy, for winning your Golden Globe, well deserved. You are not voice actors. Most of them are not voice actors, and I would say are not great voice actors. Yeah. They're just doing. You can hear them trying to muscle their way through their lines. They were cast because their face has an iconic look and they do something interesting in front of a camera. Like, this is an issue that really started with Robin Williams in Aladdin, right? Is they keep bringing in movie stars to voice animated characters. It used to be, back in the day, you would have voiceover actors doing these parts.
Robin for that. Robin did a great job.
No. It was Katzenberg. Katzenberg did it.
Them bringing in Brad Pitt to play Sinbad.
Sure.
That's where the problem was.
No, what I mean is like Katzenberg and the studios learned the wrong lessons from Robin Williams in Aladdin. And Robin Williams was the first to fight against that. He said, do not merchandise my character. And that's the only way I will do this. And Katzenberg's like, yeah, right. And then I had a little Disney Genie Butler figurine that I got for Christmas one year. Anyway, we're on a tangent here. But like all this history of animation is important in the way that we look at a series like What If? Because like there was so much more they could have done. And they just, this was not the animator's fault. I'm sure it was a directive from Kevin Feige and his team that we want this to fit in. But then by making the show deliberately not canon and by like liquefying the character of Captain Carter by the end of it, what was it all for then to commit to like these photorealistic versions of these characters? And especially when you suit them up in other people's gear and armor, as they did with Captain Carter at the end of season 2. If you were just to look at a picture of this character, you would have no idea who it is, even if you've been kind of following the show. So I think what it is there were people making these decisions, and I don't know who it was at Marvel Studios, but it's people making these decisions with no background in animation, not listening to anyone with a background in animation, and do not care about the virtues of animation. And they need to be called out for it, and they need to make better decisions for future animated shows.
And that said, right, like, I'm glad that it seems like maybe Marvel's moving on from this. Maybe the lessons have been learned. Who knows? It might take years for us to see that in action. But, like, again, X-Men 97 worked. I'm very hopeful for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah. It at least looks like an animated show, and
Jeff Trammell, the showrunner on that, worked on Craig of the Creek, like has done animation before, so I'm very excited to see more of that show for sure. Yeah, the little bit I saw at D23, the scenes they showed, they looked fun, and I'm very into it. And I'm ready for Coleman Domingo to be Norman Osborn. I want to talk more about like the future, what all this Watcher stuff meant in the show, what's the long-term canonicity of it. But first, I want to tell you about sheets, okay? Big sheets, all right? We're all about getting the best sleep possible here at the Break Room, which is why we're stoked that Miracle Made is one of today's sponsors. The temperature you sleep at has a huge impact on the quality of your sleep and climate change on this earth. If you're constantly waking up because you're too hot or too cold, you gotta try Miracle Made sheets. Miracle Made's fabric was inspired by NASA. They're about to lose their funding, folks. But this inspired these sheets.
Where are we gonna get our sheets ideas after that?
Where are we gonna do it? We're not gonna be on the moon, and we're not gonna have sheets anymore, okay? They're all about thermoregulating. They learned it from NASA. That means you'll sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Plus, these sheets are crazy comfortable. I'm talking nuts, man. Without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Plus, Miracle Made's sheets are infused with silver. What? That prevents bacterial growth.
Could I melt these sheets down? And
I've bought a whole warehouse of sheets. I'm gonna melt them down, bury that silver in my backyard. I don't have a yard. What are you talking about? I rent. Bacteria can clog your pores, folks, causing breakouts and acne. So sleeping on Miracle Made sheets is good for your skin too. Upgrade your sleep this year. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift to a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our Breakroom code at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set. That's one for the head, one for the body, and one for anything else you want. Okay? You'll save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom and use code breakroom to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/breakroom to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you, Miracle Made.
Woo!
Can't wait.
Woo!
Good job.
Yeah, let's talk about that finale of What If. What If, the name of the episode. Bad name for the episode.
And like, considering I've said nothing but negative things about the show, I think like the length and the intensity of the Watchers versus the everybody else's fight was kind of fun and unexpected.
Yes.
Like, I love them being like badass armored combatants,
with
which
still
is
the
not
giant
their
heads, like you're playing NBA All-Star Game.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
The big baby heads always freak me out, man.
I very much enjoyed that.
when
I
the
liked how
three
it
merged
kept
and started
going.
spinning really
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
This is silly.
Yeah.
It kept going. I like that.
It
That
had
was-
like an anime fight vibe to it, which is something I appreciate this show like embracing very differently than like live action.
But I will
MCU.
say that fight, to me, it was like big and but it was exhausting at one point where I'm like, well, I've just met this character, Birdie. Storm Thor is also new to, I know of the character of Storm, but like Storm Thor is new. And Kahori I like, but like haven't seen for a year. And we talked about there maybe being an episode that was cut that maybe gave us more feeling amongst these characters. But it's like, I really know Captain Carter the most, but they all felt like kind of invincible, and it felt very low stakes to me, and that kind of makes it exhausting at one point.
Even though the stakes could not have been higher.
Right. This is the fate of the
But you're
universe,
right. You're right. Yeah, it felt low stakes. I think because we couldn't attach ourselves to it. Like at one point, Peggy Carter's like, "No, saving my friend, this fifth dimensional being, is more important than all of existence existing." Like she sacrifices all of existence and threatens everything just to save this weird god who keeps intervening. Like who? Is it really that bad if Uatu gets like punished by the three?
No.
Is it that
also,
bad?
why is he picking and choosing when to intervene? There are a lot of episodes he did nothing.
Well, that's kind of the Eminence's point. Like, you're just kind of willy-nilly intervening. You're not supposed to do that. You took an oath, and you're betraying that oath. Now, it ends with they're all in Strange's dimension. Peggy is gone for what we can say is, Storm kind of asks Uatu, is there a road beyond this or something? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm just a big baby head. But then they're stuck there with like the Eminence and the Executioner and the Inquisitor, I think is the other one. And the Watcher's like, now you won't just watch, but you'll see. And there it is. Is this it? Are these all the Watchers? We assume there's other Watchers out there.
Yeah, I think there are.
We've been thinking for a while that Jeffrey Wright will show up in live action as a Watcher. Does this affect? When he shows up, will we have to know that he has come from Strange's dimension, or you think the movies will just kind of ignore everything that happened on the show?
Well, based off the verb tense of where they said you helped Reed Richards survive, I think he has already done it.
He's already done it. Okay.
So I think the Watcher might appear in a live action form in Fantastic Four First Steps. I think that would be really cool. He warns Reed Richards about Galactus and Silver Surfer coming, and then he bounces, and then he goes off to rejoin
he's like,
the
I've got to go
animated
talk to Madison with 2 N's and a Y.
Now that I need to see. I need to know what happened with Madison. I think they just threw that in there because they know how fun Madison was from She-Hulk. Yeah, not just watch but see. It's one of these lines that like we all feel like we understand what he's saying, and not that I need more to explain, but it would have been nice if by the context we just knew more about why the Watcher intervenes to know what he means by see. I think it's like don't just hear, but listen. It's like the same kind of thing as that. Okay, so you're really taking in what you're doing, and then you can decide to intervene. I guess. But again, to your point, Zach, I want to know why Riri was worth saving in that moment, but other characters weren't.
Can you imagine the number of children he's seen get hit by buses?
Yeah.
He's willing to let all of that happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Specifically, he looks for it.
He's
like, is there any children getting killed in this unit? No? I'm out of here.
In 2015, I fell off a ladder trying to get into my apartment. Okay? Where was Uatu?
He was watching, but he didn't see.
He was helping you not die,
I mean,
Zach.
It hurt.
But he cushioned your fall so that you didn't die.
He did say with Riri, like, they did kind of play it like, I'm sick of watching this, man. She dies every time. I'm sick of watching it. I got to change something this one time. I guess he's the Watcher with compassion, right? I guess his point is that whatever the Watcher's role is in their role, as I understand it, is just to be witness to what's happening.
And the difference between Uatu and maybe his compatriots is he cares too much.
Yeah.
Right? That's why he was recruited to begin with. He cares too much. But that is for a passive role, like being a Watcher, that can also be to your detriment.
Yeah. The Eminence was basically like, you were meant to save the Force, not leave it in shambles. You were my brother, Uatu. John, were you the one who brought up, are there Watchers who have to be garbage men in the Watcher?
I was mentioning that. Are there other people from this species that don't get to play the role of Watcher? Yeah. They're just farmers.
You still have to have the full run of society. They're jewelers. Yeah,
plumbers.
Oh, you're right, because I think what it is these are beings that, like, the universe manifests into existence, and everyone in this race are, like, mall cops. Like, their job is to just watch all the feeds and take it all in and just observe and record. That's they're bred for this purpose. So the way in episode 8, it was the finale where it begins with him being like an initiate into this order. I think that he was just kind of he's brought into existence moments before that. It's kind of like that amazing short story of the egg, the cosmic egg, right? Where he just kind of wakes up and you're like the one being that's been reincarnating through all different beings that have ever lived. No one's read this short story.
I know the short story by, yes.
That's kind of, I think, what he is like he was brought in for this purpose. And then I don't think there is a whole race or planet of Watchers. All they do is watch. And there's like, I think there are a finite number of them, or I don't know, maybe infinite if there are infinite universes, but like there's like a specific order of them and that's all they do is watch.
Okay. They just watch.
Yeah. Like,
and now we have Captain Carter, who is above a Watcher now, because a Watcher's like, I feel like I'm being watched now. So Peggy's watching everything now, right?
I don't think she has an actual form. I think he is like, that's just his way of saying
he's just bullshitting the other three so they'll stop asking him questions.
I don't know.
And also, Doctor Strange is a freaking constellation up in the sky too.
He is a whole universe.
He's kind of become an eternity, right?
Yeah, he's created his own universe where they're all living now on the moon.
And they're like in him?
They're in him, and there's an Earth in him, and supposedly all those people are on that Earth in him, and all those kids are getting hit by buses. In his world,
dude, and every bus has a demon on it, and it's all friggin' dragon arms and octopus legs. Yeah.
Hey man, I got this dragon arm and octopus legs. I'm just trying to get to work. You can't stop the bus every time we hit a key.
To serve the question of like what went wrong with this show, I mean, we didn't work on the show. We weren't in the writers' room. No. We weren't in the meetings. Can we try to decode? Because I think season 1 was a success. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we could say from September through November of 2021, every week was a pretty solid episode of What If. And somewhere along the road for season 2, we understand what our gripes were, right? But like, how does that happen? Is it something like, is this a classic case of a TV show's second season just not doing as well? I would say second seasons of animated shows are almost always better. Rick and Morty season 2 is awesome. Yep. Every season of The Simpsons was better than the one that came before up until season 9 or so.
I do wonder if this show ran into a challenge of like, somewhere it's getting the notes like this, we don't like all these separate stories, right? We want a more cohesive, like long
But then they don't take that note either.
Well, I think they kind of take both notes, right? Yes. Where like each season had a mix of like this Uatu, Captain Carter, Guardians of the Multiverse storyline, but also had these standalone episodes. Because what I was kind of knocked by, it was like, they did the whole Guardians of the Multiverse in the first episode, or the first season and the second season, and they just kind of dropped it for the third season. Like, they didn't really bring back a lot of those characters. Like, the Killmonger didn't come back. They brought back Strange Supreme and, like, Ultron Vision. But yeah, I mean, I guess we were talking about like that Black Widow storyline, but where he put a Black Widow back in a different timeline, not the one she came from. Mm-hmm. But they kind of just like let that go. Maybe they didn't want to bring back Lake Bell this year to do all the voices. I don't know. I think that's the problem. It's like they were hamstrung by like notes they're probably getting from the executive team, but also probably changes in leadership in the writers' room too. Probably makes it different because AC Bradley worked on the first 2 seasons, but didn't work on season 3. I think And they had like
it
a new
feels
director for
like
season 3.
Whatever the cause, the show didn't know what it wanted to be.
Sure.
And maybe that's studio. Maybe that's also like the often discussed like the problem with their production pipeline. Like every season had an episode not get finished in time that got kicked to the next season, which is like, oh, there's something not clicking there, right? And we talked about this was the first animated show that Disney Plus Marvel pushed out, so it's like they're kind of learning how to make a show in real time. That's a big part of it. I mean, the second and the third season got effectively dumped. Weird times of year, weird release strategy of one a day. Like, why not just batch binge drop or do one a week? Like we've talked about, anytime Marvel especially is not dropping something one a week, they may not have full confidence in it.
Yeah.
And they would like to kind of move on from it rather quickly. It feels like that's what happened with the second and third season of this show.
Yeah, I think the issues with the second 2 seasons of What If were the issues of Marvel overall over the past few years. Like, the first season came out when Marvel was just at this frenetic release period of we were coming out of COVID. They were eager to dive into the streaming wars. So Chapek was just funding a lot, diverting a lot of funds to Disney Plus content. And then I think in 2022, at the end of 2022, they were reassessing how much ROI they were getting. And maybe they saw their subscriber numbers were not growing to get closer to Netflix as much as they did. So they kind of pulled the funding on some things. And it wouldn't surprise me if the budget for season 2 was less than the budget for season 1. I know they had to make it in a shorter production period. And that's harder. That puts, very understandable constraints on the creative team. I think also the universe that they were pulling from was, I think they were hoping that the live action variants of these characters would be as exciting to viewers. I think when they launched the What If series, they were thinking, hey, maybe T'Challa could be more of a hero to this world. And then when, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, so the character's now dead, like, I think that took him off of the board. And I think some of these other Phase 5 titles just didn't connect with the viewers as much as Phase 3 did. So I think they were kind of limited, especially by some of the creative decisions they were forced to take early on, to really blow out the world as much as they had wanted to, probably. And then I think, you and I were talking on Sneak Peek about this September 2023 Palm Springs retreat where like it feels like everything changed. Yeah. Like that's where they're like, we gotta, replace Kang with Doom. That's where that decision, we're pretty sure, happened. And shortly after that is when they announced that What If Season 2 would come out, and it's kind of like one episode per day during Christmas period in December 2023. And I think they probably just looked at their existing content and they're like, okay, we're no longer going to do that one. Remember, this is after Bob Iger came back and he gave the order at the beginning of 2023 after Quantumania. Where he's like, okay, no, we're not going to say yes to all these things.
Play the hits.
Yeah, and I think they're like, okay, well, we've already done a lot of these episodes for What If. We've already storyboarded them. Animation has already begun. So we'll release them in 2 batches, but we're not confident in it.
Yeah.
And I think in some cases, like What If 1872, I don't want to shit on the animators or the writers, but I think just the decision to release that episode was a mistake. Like, I think when they saw that Ironheart would not be coming out, they should not have released that episode if it was going to be the Hood was so involved with it.
Yeah, it does feel weird, and it's like, we were excited to see like Walton Goggins come back, but it's like for that, and like, you had because John Walker's also in that one, right?
Uh-huh.
Doing John Walker dirty, okay? Gets in 2 lines, doesn't look anything like Wyatt Russell.
And they got Wyatt Russell to come in and do the voice.
Yeah.
Speaking of celebrity voices, Natasha Lyonne does Birdie in like the last 2 episodes, right? Which we learn is the offspring of Howard the Duck and Darcy. Think about that for a second.
You think about that for a second.
We know Natasha Lyonne's going to be in Fantastic Four for Steps, not as Birdie.
We don't know what role she's playing.
Please,
we have an image
God.
of Birdie, right? We have I think it's like the 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Birdie right in the middle there.
She's not going to come back as Birdie, is she?
I swear to God.
You think they've
Matt Shackman,
live action?
Matt Shackman, spare no expense to reshoot this movie if you have Birdie in it. I swear to God, do not have.
Just doing Natasha Lyonne's voice.
And the character is styled to look like Natasha Lyonne with the hair and the whatever.
Who else could she possibly be, Eric?
Well, isn't the rumor that she is playing John Malkovich's daughter? Didn't I see that? John Malkovich also cast in Fantastic Four.
Do we know who John Malkovich is playing yet?
No.
I bet she's Herbie. No,
that's what
robotic voice, just like straight voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. She'd be a great option to voice Birdie. And I think John Malkovich might be like Franklin Storm. I think might be Sue and Johnny's father.
I think John Malkovich is Sue Storm, and Vanessa Kirby's playing the father. They're gonna do a switcheroo.
Do you think Natasha Lyonne being in the show was just a case of like she's already at Marvel headquarters for a meeting, and Kevin Feige's like, hey, you want to do Fantastic Four? And you know what? We got this other thing.
I think that's how they got America Ferrera too, where they're just like, she's there for a meeting, and she's like, hey, you want to read 6 lines for us?
A random forest ranger.
Yeah, with the last name Morales, though we're pretty sure not related
to Rio. It's not Rio Morales, right?
Just like a very weird choice.
Also, the single line justification of like, why is this forest ranger chasing these people all over the country?
They didn't put out the campfire. You know the rules. Take only pictures, leave only footprints.
It's just like
or else I'm coming
so many of the decisions, and I get it. What a challenge! Again, this is a hole they dug for themselves by insisting that they get as much as possible the real voice talent from the films. But like, and I love to see Lawrence Fishburne and Bill Foster. Fun. We get to see him in Biggin, which is something we haven't gotten to see in live action, right? Like, very cool. But like, why are those the 2 characters chasing Bucky and Red Guardian? Right? Like.
Yeah, I think
Bill
Foster I get, because he was one of these like Hank Pym era S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. It would have been more fun if it was like a young Nick Fury, because he was part. I don't know if he was in S.H.I.E.L.D. yet. I think he was. I think he was like part of the CIA before that. Yeah.
I also want to throw out a theory. Correct me if I'm wrong. Other than Jeffrey Wright, no character appears in more than 1 episode.
Well, Dominic Cooper appeared as like Howard Stark. Are you saying this season?
In this season.
Oh.
I mean, technically Birdie, well, I guess Howard and Darcy have the pop in the final episode. That's it. But like, I wonder if there's also a weird thing of like, cool, we can use all these people, but we can only use them once.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it might have made sense for a couple of those people to show up. Like Mark Ruffalo, would have been nice to see him more than once, right? Yeah. As Hulk. But they used him in the mech episode, so now he's done.
I mean, I think a lot of the complaints of the first season was like, it's the same characters. And so it seemed like every season they tried to change the characters, but then also use the characters multiple times, which is very interesting. I don't know. It's weird who gets left out, right? They never had Miss Marvel in any of these.
Yeah.
Right? And Lamont Villani's like always around. You can't get her to come in and do some lines. Like,
Kamala?
It's very weird who they didn't use and who they did use.
Yeah, well, no She-Hulk, no Daredevil, right? Like,
though Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are doing voices on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Maybe again, this was probably all recorded years ago. You know, they've been working on this for so long. They definitely thought Ironheart would be out when this season came out. You know, I'm sure they recorded these voices maybe a year and a half ago, probably before they were even gonna do half the things they want to do now. So.
Yeah, I think the final 2 episodes of the season were intentional. I think this is what the creators of the show, the story they wanted to tell. I think the 6 episodes leading up to it were scraps cobbled together from like longer season 2. They were just like, they pitched a whole bunch of episodes. These were the ones that were greenlit by Winterbaum. And this is probably ultimately not the season they wanted to tell. I have to believe that this is not a final
Whatever
season.
was hamstringing them, whether it was notes from the studio, whether it was actor availability, whether it was mandates, you have to use these characters and you can't use those, right? Like, it's hard to make good TV. We all agree on that, right? The percentage of good TV or streaming series out there shows that. And so it's like when you have other factors preventing you from making the best thing you can possibly, it only increases the odds that it's going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
John, are there some comments? Are people having thoughts?
A lot of thoughts. A lot of people agreeing with us. A lot of people sort of like on the opposite side of things, which is just like, hey, I just like watching this show and I'm just digging the vibe. You know what I mean?
Fine. That's fine. Sorry to yuck your yum.
No, and totally. You know, I think both arguments are perfectly valid. Yeah, you know, some people, you know, here's something from Sarah Hashadorian, but she would like to hear what nexus point each of you guys would base your own what if episode around and how that would happen. I know that's a big question to ask on the spot, but
Yeah, right.
You guys go first.
I mean, some of the ones, maybe this is uncreative, but like some of the ones they've already explored the show, you could just keep iterating on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep doing more versions of that. Like, what if X character is bitten by the radioactive spider? I'd watch multiple versions of that, right? And see if it
I
like
did see some of the comments was like, "Oh, what if MJ got bitten?" Would be really
yes,
Yeah.
and see or Harry Osborn, right, or whatever. Like, let things play out like let the darkest version of something happen, and like a totally different light fun.
Yeah,
version,
one of my
right?
favorite ones was when Hank Pym was going around killing everybody. It was like very fun. And it's like those ideas of like making, good characters bad and bad characters good can be a lot of fun. Like, what if Tony Stark never, gets kidnapped and he just becomes like a weapons, he becomes evil and like he's profiting off of wars and becomes like this weird
even
Norman Osborn.
I would watch like a longer version of the what if the Red Guardian stopped Bucky, this episode, right? So the Starks don't get killed. Well, how does that affect Tony's life?
Yeah.
Does he end up being like a completely different character if his parents aren't murdered when he's young? You know what I mean? Like,
he becomes Count Roy, I'm pretty sure. Like
Yeah.
his dad Howard never steps down. He's senile, but he's still running the company. Tony can't take over.
Yeah. Or like, what if? I guess we did. What if Ultron won? But there could be like a what if episode around Wanda or something like that. Like, what if Wanda never left Hydra or something like that?
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
how would Hydra have used her powers?
yes.
Yeah. There's like, you could take MCU conditionals. I think that's what excited me the most about What If when it launched. Is we had plenty of what if examples from the comics. What if Peter Parker had the cloak of levitation or something like that, right? But in the MCU, we had this whole idea of like Peter Quill being, abducted by the Ravagers, and we got to apply that to T'Challa. I'm like, oh, really cool. So we're gonna get like these specific weird little incidents. Like, what if Tony Stark wasn't home when Nick Fury was there, and like Nick Fury had to keep going door by door or something? There's like all kinds of weird specific MCU moments. We could do like, what if the Avengers failed in the Battle of New York? We kind of explored Loki's success a little bit. What if Thanos snapped the other half of the Avengers? I think is one that we all wanted to see. We never got there, but like we had a specific lineup of Avengers who were erased from reality, and wouldn't have been cool if we could explore a blip fiction with the other half. Like that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And yeah. Sarah's question, I thought, was about like in our personal lives. What are our what if moments that we thought? So that's why I cringed. I was like, oh God, I can think of some life choices that.
So many regrets.
Yeah.
So many.
Well, I want to ask you guys too, like, I think universally the most loved episode for What If was the Strange Supreme episode, right? That is a very sad episode of television. And a lot of these other What If episodes are a little bit more, I don't know, they're more fun, right? Marvel seems like I would be scared if I were Marvel to kill off any of my important characters. But they can do that in an animated universe that doesn't have the same exact stakes as the universe that we're playing in. Is that something that you guys would have wanted to see more of? Or, a lot of animation is, the target audience is younger. So how do you kind of square that if you're Marvel?
I think it's like, we often say this show is for kids, so it's not supposed to be that deep. And I don't know about you guys, I grew up with animated shows as a kid, teaching me a lot about emotional depth and having deep cathartic moments. And I don't know what happened to where we feel like something for kids means that it shouldn't be emotionally complex. And I think something can be fun and escapist, but still have some kind of like moment that pulls you in.
That's the MCU at its best.
Yeah.
Right? There's laughs, there's adventure, and there's some emotional heft, right? And like our favorite MCU movies have all of those.
Yeah.
Right?
I think some of what you're saying with like, if something's for kids, it's like less than. I think part of that is the content has become so segmented Like they make content for kids between the ages of like 0 and 2, right? And then like 2 to 4. And some of that stuff is like the stories are a little more juvenile and a little more simple. And maybe not as like heavy on like darker themes. But when we were younger, right, those windows were wider, where it was a kid was like 0 to 8, right, and had to feed that whole audience. So I think some shows have like lost that in some ways, but the really well written like animated stuff can kind of still bridge a wider range of audience.
Also, this show was aimed at kids.
No, I wouldn't.
How much of it was about assassinations and like abductions and stuff that like you wouldn't show a 4-year-old?
I think that, like, though, from Disney's perspective, and I think this is wrong, I should say, animation is for kids, which is, I think, a thing that like our society has sort of.
But
X-Men, I think is wrong.
But X-Men 97 was horny and violent and everything else, right?
But what John's speaking to is, I think, what a lot of our viewers might feel. I mean, not everyone watches What If. Not everyone watches Clone Wars, Rebels, Tales of the Jedi. Like they don't tune in because they think it's for kids, and they're just like, something about it. Like they just watch it and they're like, I only get a couple hours of TV time per week. I'm not going to spend it watching a cartoon. I get that feeling. I think all of us agree that it's wrong. I think to allow an animated show just to be pure escapist fun for 24 minutes is depriving your audience of an opportunity to grow and depriving your medium an opportunity to change that narrative about what it can be.
Well, because I don't know about you, but like the episodes I liked versus the episodes I didn't like, the ones I didn't like, I didn't care. I didn't care. The premise is not a premise I care about. The characters as portrayed in the show, I did not care about. Whereas, like, man, I just spent however many episodes watching Agatha, hanging on every word Catherine Hahn said. I didn't give a hoot about what she's doing in old flapper dresses and old Hollywood. Again, as portrayed by this, I just didn't care.
Yeah,
right?
And to compare it to Creature Commandos, a show that I know a lot of you are like, why haven't you broken it down yet? It's coming Thursday. Trust me. We're caught up, and it is... Every episode has a heartbreak in it. Every episode has that blend of like violent fun, but then they have, like Lost, a character flashback element that breaks your heart. And every single one of these, I had to pause and be like, "Ooh, that hits."
He's just chasing squirrels.
Just chasing squirrels. No, completely different. The Dr. Phosphorus episode, my God.
Also, I mean, that show's killing too many kids. Okay, I know we often joke about Stranger Things doesn't kill enough kids. Creature Commandos kills too many kids. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I just want to see a lady and a duck have an egg.
Yeah.
I don't need to cry every episode. Where'd that egg come from?
I think Rick and Morty, when Rick and Morty has been good, they do this. They have some heartbreaking moments, but like the other 20 minutes of it, like I'm thinking of like, was it the season 7 episode where it was like they go to another planet and they have the montage of like gonna live forever, and just like that 1.5, 2-minute montage of just like living through the life of this other person, it is like, like it breaks your heart. And I think like good animation can do that.
Yes.
Just make us care. It doesn't have to make us cry. It doesn't have to be overly sentimental.
Yeah.
Just give your characters like a grounded moment that shows us that they're human. I mean, again, The Simpsons did this all the time. Futurama would do this all the time. Like, have these moments where, like, Bart and Lisa just realize that as siblings they love each other. Or whereas Marge just wants to do the best as a mom that she can. Or, do it for her. Like Homer putting up pictures of Maggie all over his workspace. Like, the animation's been doing this for 30 years. For the entire time I've been alive. So I just don't have any patience for animated shows that have bigger budgets than these other shows had, have more creative freedom than the other shows had. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they don't have as much creative freedom. Maybe James L. Brooks got Matt Groening and Sam Simon and Conan, all those guys, all the creative freedom they wanted, whereas Kevin Feige's like, no, it has to be this for the What If show.
Also, let's be honest. Okay, the reason we're all being so hard on this show, the Disney checks quit clearing. Okay? I am on the show payroll, okay? And the direct deposit stopped.
Oh, right. Okay? That's right. Shilbot is tired.
Well, we were talking about this before. And it's obviously this is not something we do very often where we come on and just bag on something, right? Like the ethos of the New Rockstars network of channels is like fans and enthusiasm and appreciation of craft. And we probably could have appreciated the craft of this show a little bit more because there's some good stuff. But like because of that, because we expect so much and because we care so much, like we also have to be honest when we're let down.
And this is also something we really intentionally do here on the Break Room. When we do a new Rockstars channel upload, it is part of the editorial mission of that channel to just appreciate the craft. And I think we do that in a different way here on the Break Room. We are unscripted. We are not just focused on research and trying to fit in as much research as we can into 20 or 30 minutes or whatever it is. We're live streaming. We're taking your questions on the fly. We are ad-libbing. We're giving our real, honest, unfiltered thoughts. And I think that is something you can appreciate here on the Break Room that you won't always see on the New Rockstars channel because we are just so focused on giving you reasons to love something. It's not like over here, we're going to give you reasons to hate stuff, but we think there is another way. Like if we tried to bullshit you on this show, I think we'd lose all credibility.
Yeah.
Like we have to call a spade here. I think we all see that there are glaring flaws with the show. So I don't know. It's something that I think is important to be able to have that nuanced conversation here on the Break Room.
Yeah, Marvel Animation, we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
Can we do a quick, let's just run down, because, again, overall let down by the season, but, like, there were some bright spots. I'm going to read out the episodes.
Okay.
There are 8 episodes. Throw out your rankings, okay, as we go. So, number 1 being the best, 8 being what you perceive as the worst.
I got to rank these 8 shows?
Yeah, I'm no, the episodes of What If Season 3. Okay, I'm going to throw it out. And again, if you need to go back and change it, whatever. Okay, Hulk, what if Hulk fought the Mech Avengers?
This was low for me.
So would this be a 6, a 7, and 8 for you?
8 is low?
8 is being the worst.
This is, for me, it would be like a 6.
6, okay.
I was very let down by this episode.
Yeah, I was... No, you know what? I would give it 5. I think it was kind of in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Can I say, too, with this one, I was excited mostly by the different animation style at the beginning, where I was like, I would love it if this series had more different...
Right, yeah, what if it stayed in that kind of like 80s...
I wanted that like G.I. Joe's...
That would have been cool.
That was fun and unexpected.
That's what I wanted.
I also
and then it cut to like, I don't want to talk to Bruce because we have bad feelings for each other.
So, like...
getting the mech suit already.
I was like, it's probably just like a budgetary thing because it's easier and cheaper to do, but I kind of love it when the show would just show still images of like plot unfolding or whatever, right? As opposed to like
telling us like a
I don't know. I kind of it was
thing.
a stylistic choice.
You want to read a book? You don't
That's
want
right.
to watch a show.
Can you just put this out as a comic book?
Okay.
Second episode. What if Agatha went to Hollywood?
I didn't hate this one as much, but I put this around like 5. This was right in the middle for me.
I think conceptually, the idea of Agatha going to Hollywood and letting all that power go to her head is very on brand for Agatha. And I just like getting more Agatha. So yeah, if I gave 5 to the other one, I'll give a 4 to this one.
And this
so
one,
it's
they didn't
ranking
take
higher.
people out of time either. They took people who would have been there at the time and put them.
Yes, Howard Stark as like Cecil B. DeMille or
that was
Howard
established
Hughes.
on Agent Carter. He started that studio.
Yeah.
Mainly as a tax break.
Yeah.
But
that was very cool. And I just think the musical sequence.
I also like
was
the
not...
reality of like, I know she's doing magic. It just is great for my budgets.
I would say my favorite. I did not like that episode. It would have been low for me, but like Howard in that episode is great.
And that was Dominic Cooper,
He's
who
having a
did
good time.
Howard Stark on Agent Carter, and also in the first Captain America.
Third episode. This is top 2 for me. Red Guardian stopped the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I'd put this at like 4.
We're on the same path.
Okay.
I'd give it 3. To me, it was like my third favorite of this season.
That one was either 1 or 2 for me. Howard the Duck got hitched.
This was actually, honestly, my favorite episode because I laughed the most during this. I had the most fun with this episode. Plus, where'd that egg come from? You know what I mean? Like, does it come out
physically.
that size? Did it come out smaller and grow outside? Was that a human zygote that turned into
Well,
it?
I just watched Alien Romulus over the weekend for the first time. And, and the xenomorphs, notably in 30 minutes, go from something this big to
So fast.
full-grown.
Yeah,
So it's like, why can't it be a chicken-sized egg? You know what I mean? And still be Birdie.
Yeah, a lot of questions. But, when human babies are born, you got to get the head and the shoulders through. So a certain radius of an egg isn't out of the question.
Though it's a heart, it's not as,
We got any
flexible.
eggs in the fridge?
Maybe the egg was a little soft. Maybe
I
the
think
egg
it
was
was
a
a
little
little soft.
squishy. And then it hardened when it hit the air.
I think a celestial stork brought it.
Oh, yeah. In a little satchel. Okay, Howard the Duck got hitched. You're saying your top
I'll put that
episode.
in my
I'll
top
say I'm looking at what's left. Yeah, I had more fun with that one. I'd say 2.
2!
Yeah.
That was 8 for me. I hated almost every second of it.
Yeah.
They wasted Tom Hiddleston on that episode?
Oh, but he played that character in season
okay,
1.
that's
You recorded that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe it was it's 7 or 8 for me. Okay, The Emergence Destroyed the Earth. This is one I liked a lot.
Yeah, this is number 1 for me.
What do I have left? You can put this at like 3.
You've done 1, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
You
You can
have
put that
2
at
and
3 for me.
Okay.
I thought Dominic Thorne's voice acting was not great in this, but I think it was tough because I'm sure she had no idea what she was doing with this thing. They probably recorded this when she was doing Ironheart, and I just it didn't feel like it fit in with the rest of them. I don't know.
I guess the thing that connected me, even though again you have to make like 3 giant leaps at the beginning of the episode. Tiamat emerges, but also Mysterio is there and somehow gets all the Stark things. It's like, whoa, this is like 3 what ifs squeezed into 1.
I know,
but
yeah.
the episode just kind of moved fast. The action I thought was like among the most effective and like attractive in the series. For some reason, even though like first 5 minutes, I'm like, wait, what the hell's going on? Like it got me by the end.
Also, they couldn't get Gyllenhaal in the recording booth for this one.
I know, Doc. They got everybody
fake
else.
Gyllenhaal in there. You know what I'm talking about?
He was great though. That voice actor.
I liked old Mysterio. Was very fun.
I know, weird shrunken head kind of looking. Okay, 1872. This is dead last for me.
Yeah, 8.
Even though I
8
love
for me,
Sunny
too.
Birch, this
Yes.
is brutal. This is just brutal.
Should have cut this episode, made it a 6 episode or 7 episode season.
Yeah.
Cut another
not
one
good.
for 6, you know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, go for 6.
Put out an
probably
episode.
cut out one of these other ones too.
Well, though it's tough for me because I also hated these last year. What if the Watcher disappeared? Which is not something that happens in the episode. He does not disappear.
He does disappear.
No, he doesn't.
He is
They
already.
take him into prison, and that's why they go after him because he
but
disappeared.
that's not like the conditional that gets explored this episode.
No.
It's like it's just kind of hanging out with the 4 of them, and it's not like he's missing, and we get to explore the implications of him being missing.
The plotting of this episode was so tedious. We've got the 3 shards. Let's try on this shard. Nope. Well, we've got 2 more tries.
Yeah, it
You know
was.
what the most frustrating thing for me was they took this squid monster thing, which has been the most important thing
Oh yeah.
in all 3 or the first 2 seasons, and we're just like, that's not a problem anymore. It's just they don't even name it. They don't even say Shumagorath, Jessica. They don't even say Shumagorath. I know, but they were just like,
But that's
this
just
thing.
what Red Skull called him.
It's just this thing. This is like in Tremors when in the movie they call them graboids, but but the movie's named Tremors. But the people, the first guy, he calls them graboids, but no one else will call them graboids. That's their name. They're graboids. They're not Tremors. You guys look like idiots now.
What's the? I think you should leave. Like that's his name.
That's his name.
That's his name.
Okay. Watcher disappeared.
What do I got left?
7.
You got 2 and 7 left.
7 for me.
I'll put 7 so I can put 2 for the next one.
You really thought 2?
got
I
the
used
finale?
all my other numbers. I didn't like the way I had to do this.
Eric only has 6 left.
So 6, yeah. To me, this was the 3rd worst. It was a bit better than episode 7, but still not a great.
Yeah, it had
finale.
some high points. I appreciated some of the like crazy action and
like
just
the
seeing
spinning-
the
the
seeing the
spinning
big-headed goons put on weapons and armor. Is
When they
kind
were
of the
spinning.
second they all activate into their like battle armor. I was like, what
Well,
is
Watcher's
this?
got like this club with nails in it.
Dude,
Negan bat?
and it had like kung fu movie vibes,
Yeah.
especially with like the golden fists and
Oh,
like, the
yeah, yeah.
weapons.
Also,
and
it's
stuff
just
like
like if anyone can say the oath, they just become a Watcher. That
Yeah.
seems like a loophole they should have.
Guys, let's say the oath.
I don't even know.
I swear not
don't
to
know.
intervene. I swear to
watch
only
and
watch.
Only be a watcher.
And I will watch. And I will watch,
see,
watch,
and
watch.
I will come and I will watch and I will become the watcher. and I
Oh,
will
okay.
see.
You heard it. Yeah, thank
It
you.
was intentional. Come on.
He knew what he said.
Yeah,
Take
I
the
don't
training.
Take the train. Okay, well there you go. Throw your rankings.
What was your ranking?
Yeah, basically like all that. Well, for me, it's hard to rank it because again, I had 2 episodes I enjoyed. And that was the Red Guardian and Winter Soldier, and the Riri episodes I enjoyed. 1 or 2 maybe I was okay with. The rest I actively hated.
They're all 8 for.
Yes, which maybe Guys, that's probably more a reflection where I am with my life. Okay.
That says more about
I
you.
wasn't in a great
Zach.
headspace while consuming What If Season 3.
When
maybe.
Bob Toledo's being a PE teacher, right? And I can relate. And he shows back up again to like be like, I know who you are, and he immediately like drops into his Russian accent. That wouldn't be that easy to do. Right? At that point, you've been Bob Toledo for a couple of years, and you're like, I can't just do the Russian again all of a sudden.
It'd sound weird. It was,
Also, like you would go one beat and be like, I'm not who you say you are. You would try. You wouldn't immediately reveal that you're a Russian.
A big time for David Harbour animated shows.
Yeah, David Harbour's in animation right now. Really
Playing
doing it.
goofy, big muscle heads.
but is he better in Creature Commandos or in What If? Because I feel like he's almost miscast as Erik
I
Frankenstein.
don't like him.
I think he's
Performance
just
is
fine.
strange as
The
Frank
character is
Frankenstein,
written is fairly interesting. He just can't get over
Do you
this
think
shit.
Alan Tudyk
But-
has been like, hey, enough with the voice acting, my guy. This is my life. Okay?
Get out of here.
You've done enough.
Yeah, I think one thing about Creature Commandos is like half the voice actors are perfect. Half of them are kind of like, you're a movie TV actor. Get a real voice actor in there, right?
Yeah. Get a real voice actor.
I'm
Okay,
just saying.
throw your high points
Yeah.
in the show. Or if you have an issue with the show that we did not mention, and we mentioned a lot of them, throw those in the comments.
missed something.
We are dangerously close to 100,000 subscribers on the Breakroom. Okay? We're at like 97 something, closing in on 98. There's a chance more than 2,000 people will watch this episode who are not subscribed
Wow.
to the channel. So like you can be the 100,000th person, and we will find you.
We'll know
Okay?
who you are.
If you become that person, we will find you, and good things will happen.
Oh, okay. It sounded like a threat at first.
No threat. So subscribe
We're
if
also
you don't
hoping that
already.
these are
2,309.
We only need 2,309.
And we're hoping that you've watched this whole episode, you have not been subscribed, and you're hearing this message now, and you're making the decision to subscribe. You know, every day I'll watch a YouTube video from a channel that I've watched many videos from, and that day when they say subscribe, I'm like, you know what? Today
Good
I'll
point.
actually subscribe.
You get like an hour or no, 58 minutes into the video of just people being negative about a show that you liked, and then you're like, you know what? Now I will.
Now I'll
Yeah,
join.
don't you want to subscribe to see more What If Season 3 content?
Well, we have a lot coming up this year, and we're very excited about
Yes.
Yes.
a lot of our content this year.
And we even have
all of it.
a lot coming up in the very near future. Eric, we're going to do a Breakroom after show for the finale of
Creature Commandos?
Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew, that's right. Oh, this week.
finale this week?
We have a couple more weeks.
sorry. Yeah.
Yes, so we have episode 7 is going to be the Jod Wood flashback. And my friends, we are going back to Order 66.
Oh.
You thought a lot of kids die on Creature Commandos?
Yeah.
Just wait till we go back to the temple
Yeah.
and Grogu's roommate is dead.
Whoa.
Anakin's just chasing squirrels out there.
But we are going to do Wednesday. We're going to do
Wednesday,
an after
11 a.m. Pacific. We will
Yeah,
be doing
For a second I was thinking
yes.
Skeleton
the
Crew.
Jenna Ortega Wednesday.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
that
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Well, maybe when that show comes out too. But yeah, so this Wednesday we'll be doing an after show
Yes.
for the previous night's Skeleton Crew episode. We might do something on maybe we're gonna do something on Friday. That could be a Creature Commandos wrap up. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
When Evan's back from his novel, we'll ask him.
But yeah, we're very excited. So make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Twitch where we do videos like this live. You can join us for that. But follow us on Breakroom NR on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, wherever you can find us.
And ask yourself the question: what if 2025?
Bye.